Rice Fame Group supports the legacies of HBCUs. Hello, this is Lacy L Jr. of Rice Fame Group, welcoming you to chat with HBCU Champions, Season 3, Episode 9, featuring head coach David Oliver of Howard University's Women's Track and Field, where the team won the MEAC Indoor and Outdoor Championships this year. Congratulations, Coach, and welcome to the show again.
Thanks for having me again, Lacy. It's always good to talk to you, and appreciate the great intro. Ladies did an extremely good job this season, starting in cross country and finishing through having a semifinalist at the Olympic trials this year. So definitely is a long 10 months of a season, but it was definitely rewarding.
Okay. And also, you were the 2022-2023 Makita Excellence Awards winner for women's track and field. So congratulations on that too.
Thanks. Yeah, been a lot of accolades, and it's all thanks to the hard work of the student athletes here at Howard University.
Okay, all right. Well, Coach, for those who watched us in the past, and those who are track and field aficionados, we all know that you had a long, prestigious career in track and field as America's top hurdler one time, and so, but please tell us a bit about your background, especially for those who had not seen previous episodes.
So I started running about 17 years old out there, junior year of high school, pretty much taking up the 110 hurdle event. It was just kind of on a whim as well. My coach at the time, Denver East High School legend Betsy Freeman Allen, kind of got me involved in the event, and we went to a relay meeting, and we had a shuttle hurdle, and we was looking for a fourth leg, and at the time, being one of the taller guys, she kind of put me out there, and I didn't know what to do. I had never hurdled before, and so I was like, so what am I supposed to do? And he said, set your blocks like when we sprint, and take 3 steps all the way down the track as long as you can. And I ended up doing it the whole entire way. And I guess I didn't know what I was doing. She was like, wow, I think you have a new event. And because generally most people, I guess they don't really accomplish that, being able to kind of 3-step all the way down the track on full spacing, first time out the gate. So maybe it was just always meant for me to be somebody that took on the 110-meter hurdle event. That gets me to a topic that's way out in the weeds. Kind of, I don't understand how on the, younger level, maybe not like 17 years old, but even on younger level, how the hurdle spacing is race spacing for adults. We got to probably figure out a way to bring that in more age appropriate or something, because it is a very difficult thing when you think about the hurdles are 10 yards apart, right? So that's 30 feet. And if you have a 8th grader or 7th grader, some developing athlete, how in the world are they making it with that? And I don't think that's appropriate spacing, but that's for the track nuts out there. We to converse about that, but that was pretty much the beginning for me, and led me to Howard University. With my coach Michael Merritt gave me a scholarship to come here run track. And was able to kind of turn that into what you see now, going on to the next level. Was able to be an All-American a couple times here, scoring points at the national meet, winning the conference championship outdoor every year from freshman year through senior year, and having a great professional career for 13 years, winning world championship title and bronze medal in world championships and in the Olympic Games and all those things. So just thankful and blessed to be on the journey. And now I can be back here as the director of the track and field program for the men and women here and leading the next generation of great student athletes that are participating in track and field coming from Howard University.
Okay. Well, see, we just got brand new nuggets from you because we never talked about you starting at 17 and then also starting with the shuttle hurdle.
Yeah, yeah. I have a picture of my very first kind of big race that I participated in. It's funny because I'm about 10 miles over the top of the hurdles, man. It's pretty interesting to see the development from that point going to now, of course.
Right. And that's not an easy race to run either for those of you who do not know what the shuttle hurdles are. Primarily, you have hurdles in adjacent lanes, one going one way, the other one coming the other way, and so it's just like the old-fashioned relays that you used to do in the gym, where somebody would run down, tag a person, the other person would come up. That's kind of what the shuttle hurdles are. So one person has to run down. When they cross the line, the other person can come back the other way. And you do that 4 times. And so it's not necessarily the easiest race to run. It's an interesting race to view.
We need to add that to the world relays and the Olympics and world championships. You know, even if it's in the mixed variety, we got the mixed 4x4 now. There's conversations about a mixed 4x1. Come on, go let the hurdlers get a little more love. You know, we need to push that on the top level too.
Well, that would be interesting. I guess the major issue would be what the height of the hurdles would be.
Well, no, you just keep 42 down this way and 33, yeah. That the women run second and fourth, and the guys run first and third, just like with the mixed relay now. How I think the men run first and third, and maybe the women are second and fourth. So, yeah, we got to make it happen though.
Okay, all right. And so you came back. You ended up coming back to the Mecca to be the head coach of the track and field program, which, you know, I know that had to be kind of like a dream come true to be able to come back and to pour in to the next generation of Bisons.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't really say it was a dream come true. I didn't even really have a dream of doing this at all, but that's the thing is it's really not, to me, it's not about kind of what you want to do, because those things rarely kind of happen that way. I think it's all about putting yourself in the best position to be successful long term, whatever that may look like. A lot of people are like, "Oh man, you never coached before, and you know, or how are you going to do X, Y, Z?" But I'm like, well, I've never been bad or failed at anything that I've done before, so I'm pretty sure I can start that off with start that as a coach. So I figure I just had a lot of self-confidence and belief that I had the ability to make it happen on this level. But yeah, so I'm just, and it's more of like, you know, I tell people often it's not a job of, you know, make a paycheck, clock in, clock out. I'm very passionate about this program, this university, because this is what provided me everything that came afterwards. So, yeah, so it means a lot. And I think when you pour into a project and pour into the student athletes like that you can't possibly fail. Just like the student athletes, I don't believe that they can fail either when they see a coach or the coach is giving every last thing that we have for them to be successful. And I think that's just kind of why we've been able to turn around things kind of in a relative quick fashion. I mean, of course, you know, now 3 years in a row doing great things, but even those teams back when I first got here prior to the pandemic, where we had to kind of struggle to get our footing. Those student athletes kind of set the groundwork for what you're seeing now. And so we're always indebted to those student athletes that unfortunately weren't able to get the championship rings and get all the accolades and stuff. But it was due to them that we're able to get here as well.
Right. And you've been able to come in and be a major player in track and field, and you know, talking to some of your peers there in the MEAC, they have very high regards for you as a coach, and so and you did that in very short time. And like you said, you know, you didn't have coaching experience coming in, and that is very unique. But then again, you bring unique experiences to the table as well. That because most college coaches have never been to the Olympics and have not won world championships and have not themselves received the level of coaching that you received as a pro. And so you do have a very unique skill set when it comes to coaching that most of us coaches have never had. So
yeah, and now you got to take my hat off to places like Howard, you know, the HBCUs, but we're always the ones that are willing to take a gamble or a risk, I would say, because gamble and risk to me are two completely different things. I say, so take a risk on maybe coaches that may not have the background or the resume of coaching experience, but we have the other things, the other side of the equation in spades, whether it's operating at a high level, performing at a high level, those things in our background, you know, because I'm not the only one in track and field, you know, or we look at our football coaches, basketball coaches, things like that, that are high level individuals that got a start and got the opportunity because they were at the HBCU level. If you to be honest, if I went to PWI school, I wouldn't be in this situation. 99.9%, I'm sure I wouldn't be. No matter what I accomplished on the higher level, I wouldn't be in that position. But it's because the HBCUs, we take care of our own. And that's one thing that I've always loved about being here, being at Howard in my undergraduate days, which was a quarter of a century ago already. It's crazy how time flies, but and that's why I just love being here, and definitely thankful to Kerry Davis, the athletic director here, and Dr. Frederick, our former president, for you know, kind of going to bat and kind of thinking outside the box when they want to think about building a successful track and field program here. And I think it's paid off for everybody involved.
right. Well, yeah, and kudos to the administration, you know, the university and the athletic administration, because Howard has built a very high quality athletic program. Several coaches in the athletic program have won conference championships and done very well on the national level. And so, once again, everyone can't say that.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, kudos to them. Well, tell us about this year's team. Who were some of your key athletes and what were some of their accomplishments?
Oh man, wow! So many key athletes, and it may not even just be the ones that you might see, you know, with all the limelight or whatever. But it was very difficult trying to replace the student athletes that we had on the women's team over the path, say from 2021 to 2023. You know, those athletes were scoring points at the NCAA meet, you know, making it, you know, All-American honors multiple times. So we had a big void when it came to those replacements. We won the indoor title this year. Everybody's looking, sprints or the hurdles or whatever it may be, but that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the couple distance runners we had, Brianna McDonald and oh my goodness, how am I saying? Jocelyn Crosby, Jordan Miller, Camille Egbula, those four athletes that came in there and were in the 3K, the 5, the DMR, 15, like doing all of those things, getting those minor points that were able to kind of lead us to that indoor title. Because without them, we probably don't win the indoor championship title, because we had a lot of injuries to our top level athletes in the hurdle event, and they weren't able to compete. I think 3 of the 4 best hurdlers that we had, they were at home at the indoor meet. So then the outdoor season, everybody was kind of back pretty much, and we were able to do what we came to do. But it's those unsung student athletes like them that's not going to get the limelight because they're not, at the national meet right now, or or maybe picking up all the gold medals, things like that. They're the backbone of the program as well. Of course, with our sprints, Kai Collins coming in here, transferring for us and winning the 1, the 2, 4x1, setting school records in all 3 of those, and making it to the NCAA level in all 3 of those events. And those Tiffany Ray Pittman, a stalwart of the program she's only been here 3 years, but it feels like, she's been at the Nationals, All-American every year, 4x1s, 4x4s, whatever it takes. She's really gets the job done. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of strong student athletes that we have in the program, and we just hope to continue it on this year. We lost a couple of big time athletes for us in 24 to graduation. So hopefully the group that we got coming in will be able to pick up the slack and step up.
Okay. Yeah. And you had mentioned something earlier. It didn't come to mind until you started talking about some of your athletes. And it seemed that announcers this year at the NCAAs and at the Olympic trials kind of highlighted some of the HBCU athletes that made it, to semifinals and finals, and kind of talked about that a bit more than they had in the past. So I'm also loving that they are getting that type of recognition, so that people know, you don't, and this has been my philosophy about track and field anyway. You don't have to go to a Power 5 in order to make it in track and field. You don't have to go to Division 1 to make it as a track and field athlete, because especially if you're running, if you're fast, period. If you're jumping, if you can jump far, you can jump far, period.
Exactly.
If you're throwing, you can throw far. It doesn't matter what level you're on.
Doesn't matter at all. That's the beauty of the sport. I mean, the competition is really you and yourself. Like, think about the Olympic trials, the kid that got silver in the high jump, what school does he go to? HBCU kid. But I mean, even if we're talking about smaller schools, maybe not just HBCUs, but the kid from Fairleigh Dickinson won the triple jump. The head coach at that school is a Howard graduate. He was the assistant coach for me before taking the head job at FDU, and his kid won the Olympic trials and is going over there to the Olympic Games from a non-traditional power. You're not going to see that in your other sports very often, because the front of the name, the jersey on the front, I mean, the name on the front of the jersey does not matter when it comes to this sport. Now, I understand in football, when you're looking at the landscape, like, man, only about 5, 6, 7 people are getting drafted from the FCS level, period. Which is another point that a tangent about how people get on my nerves talking about, like, oh, black HBCUs, they're not getting drafted and X, Y, Z. It's like, no, let's take that out of it. Let's look at the FCS as a whole. Right. You know, it ain't just a black college thing. It's the FCS as a whole that only about, 7, 8 kids or whatever, low number considering we're talking about 7 rounds of a draft are getting picked up. So I kind of understand where a kid may be like, okay, I'm great at Howard or a FCS program for 2 years, winning all the accolades, but my dream is to go to the NFL. So maybe I need to take my talents for the last 2 years and get to the FBS level so that I can get more recognition, or I don't know, whatever it may be, so I can get drafted. It's like, okay, cool. I understand. It kind of sucks, but it makes sense if your ultimate goal is trying to get to the league. In track and field, it makes no sense because it's just all about the coaching. Right. Who's guiding your program. Look at the national championship finals. You'll see a lot of like Alabama State kid out there in the 1 and the 2 doing his thing in Olympic trials and just making it happen. He beat all those schools of those kids that they probably overlooked him in the recruiting process. So for me, it's like those people, overlooked you. You're beating their kids behinds out there at the meets, and now you want to go join up with them. That just doesn't make kind of much sense to me. I love being when I stood out there when I was competing in just Howard, and everybody said, "Oh, Howard, oh man, wow." I didn't know Howard had a track program. I thought it was just for the academics and this, that, and the third. Every time I would go to the national championships, it would be almost the same sort of commentary from the student athletes that I would come in contact with. They didn't know anything. So it's like, man, I'm out here putting my school on the map. And that's a great feeling.
Right. And and you're so right. And I as well get upset with how things have progressed with the NFL, or I might even say regress to a certain point. Because when you look across the landscape, you look across the history of the NFL, you got people like Walter Payton, HBCU, Jerry Rice, HBCU, Michael Strahan, HBCU.
Right. Yeah,
so
yeah.
You have all these people who are at the top of their positions, and yet you don't have as many HBCU athletes being recruited now. Hopefully, Mr. Sanders will get a good placement, and at some point, people will have to remember that he and Travis Scott and Mr. Sanders' brother, that all of them played at an HBCU. And so, like you said, there's a lot of talent, and you can't just, relegate it to HBCUs not making it. No, it's anyone on that particular level, no matter what the school is. I don't see a whole, I hate to mention names, but I don't see a lot of Eastern Kentucky University, Murray State University, and schools like that. I don't see their athletes being drafted either.
Yeah, so, that's what I was saying. It's this FCS, even, the whole controversy about, Deion Sanders' salary. I'm like, man, he was still up there, one of the highest paid FCS coaches in the country. It wasn't, okay, if you compare it to, FBS, then yes, of course it's not on the same playing field. But when you're looking at the peers of, who him and Jackson State were competing with, he was taken care of, in my opinion. But, I don't know all the details or whatever, but it just seemed like people they can't really stay on topic when you or really stay on point with any data and things when you're conversing with them about certain things. There's more emotion-ridden conversation. So that's why I don't even really like getting involved in conversing about those types of things, publicly anyway. I'd just rather talk to the friends, and because they pretty smart and level-headed people. So, with that whole situation. But yeah, they got to start there, and Dion got his start there. But to my point, like what I said about myself, getting the opportunity to I guess he probably had coaching experience. I don't really know his background like that, but the only place that would give him the opportunity, it seemed like, was Jackson. So he was able to parlay that into building a great legacy as a coach and a mentor, and to have the big schools come in and look at him to kind of pick him up and say, hey, man, he could do a fantastic job from my school as well. Right. That he was given that platform from Jackson, just like I was given this platform from Howard.
Right. And yeah, he did. He had high school assistant coaching experience because he coached his sons at in high school. And then on top of that, one thing that I do like about Dion, whenever he is interviewed and people start talking about Florida State, he'll let them know real quick, where did I get my degree? I got my degree at Talladega.
Talladega, yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I mean, once again, in the HBCU, doing doing some things and helping each other out. So it is kind of like a whole family setting, like they say. When you're talking about our historically Black colleges and universities.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, track and field is very unique because of course, St. Aug was no matter what level, St. Aug was really the top program in the country for a long time. And so I don't even know how many national championships Coach has.
Yeah, Coach Williams was the man, still is the man, and touched a lot of lives and touched a lot of people he didn't even coach, but just he's a great guy. And you see Brashawn Jackson leading that program right now, which comes from Coach Williams, and is getting the opportunity to cut his teeth on the collegiate level at St. Aug. And as you see, their athletes are doing extremely well under his tutelage too. So I mean, we're given opportunities that a lot of these places would not afford us.
Right. And thank you very much for talking about that in depth, because that's very important. And I definitely want student athletes to realize if you're a track and field athlete, there are a lot more opportunities for you if you're good, and you don't have to limit yourself to look at a real big school, because you might get to a big school and not fit in.
Well,
then what?
I mean, well, the women that we've got to transfer into our program have come from these great universities that they just felt like they didn't fit in to, for whatever the reason may be, and they weren't really performing that well at those universities, but they come to Howard and they compete for us, and they become the athletes that everybody knew that they had the capabilities of being. And maybe that's because they're just kind of in a space where they can breathe more, or just maybe a little less pressure. I'm not sure what it is, but they have the ability. They're at these schools for a reason, because they were fantastic high school student athletes, and then they come to Howard, and they're able to reach beyond levels they even thought that they would be at. And that's a good feeling. So it's just the supportive places, I feel. And yes, of course, the bigger schools are going to have the cooler stuff. You probably get more stuff, but at the end of the day, that has nothing to do with competing. It has nothing to do with producing results, pretty much. And to me, that's the only thing that matters, because this is a small window, these 4 or 5 years that you have the opportunity to be a student athlete. And it's like you can do in these 4 years, set yourself up way beyond where, I'm looking 20 years plus post-graduation for me. And I've been able to set everything in line because of being at Howard University. So you got to be able to play the long game. I think that's why we have more success with the women recruiting, things like that, than maybe the guys here, because guys, we're visual. We want to see we need all of the extras and all the things like that. Women, they're already smarter, more mature than us. So they can kind of weed through a lot more of the inconsequential things, maybe at a younger age than we can. So, I get it. But we just try to do the best we can, show everybody this is what you can do. Look, the proof's in the pudding when it comes to producing results. That happens here. We have all the stuff that you need from a performance standpoint here. But yeah, so I mean, to me, whoever's going to show up here to compete in this sport at Howard is going to be successful. It's a basic contract I have with the student athletes. Do what I ask, when I ask, how I ask it to be done, and I guarantee you'll be successful. Now, I can't guarantee you'll be a national champion or conference champion, whatever. But whatever success is for you, you'll reach that. Because at the end of the day, your DNA is your DNA. We can't, like I say quite often, the fastest donkey is not beating the slowest thoroughbred. So no matter how hard you try to coach or try things like that in this sort of sport, so but you can still be extremely successful and productive in your collegiate career.
Right. And yeah, and I guess that's what we call trusting the process. And getting student athletes to buy in to that process. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, feeling comfortable within the program and the university or college as well. Though all of those are very important, because when I look across the landscape, especially when you look at all these Olympians, it's not just the United States producing Olympians. You can have Canadians, Mexicans, Nigerians, Botswanans. I mean, you have a lot of people from around the world, and all of them are not NCAA champions.
No,
But they're national champions, and they're in the Olympics. So, and in fact, you have an Olympian this year.
Yeah, yes, Jessica Goodbye. She graduated in 2022 for us, and was selected for her national team in the 4x1 and the 200 meter dash. She just actually won the Continental Championships in the 200. So, she's got an opportunity and really built on that, considering she came in as a walk-on, and no one was recruiting her out of high school. I mean, if you looked at the times, it's almost like, shoot, why would you? Because it was beyond, not kind of Division I quality. But that's one thing about timing. I also believe that timing is everything. Even when we go back to considering how I became the coach here at Howard, just the timing of all of that. And then my first year here was her first year as a student here. I came in, she came in the office, wanted to walk on, and I had no idea the talent level of the program, which it couldn't have been that good. I mean, if the talent level is that high, I don't think we've been looking for a new coach. but yeah, so she just developed and worked hard, did everything that she was supposed to do pretty much, and has gotten opportunities now running all over the globe, and having the opportunity to go to the Olympic Games, which is the pinnacle of our sport. Pretty much is having the opportunity to step out there and represent on the highest level. So I'm very excited to see how far she can take that. And this is just the second year of her career, so she's got plenty of more time. So yeah, it's exciting to watch and exciting to be a part of producing an athlete to make it to the Olympic Games.
Right. And like I said, hopefully, we'll have. I'm hoping we have younger athletes get hold of this video so that they can learn from you. I mean, because you're dropping a lot of nuggets, a lot of wisdom on them to give them probably a different perspective than what they might have had about themselves. Because I remember the year that I coached on the collegiate level, I was talking to the head coach, and he was telling me about how some of the he was he was catching a lot of grief from the high school coaches around the state, and he gave me an example. One coach came to him, hey, why don't you recruit my girl? You know, she's been the regional champion 4 years in a row, and this, that, and the other, and the 400, and this, that, and the other. And coach asked him, was like, well, okay, so what's her time? Oh, she runs a 62.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this was a this was let me see, how should I put this? This was a big university in a major conference. And, coach, I don't know if he laughed in the guy's face or not.
Oh man.
Well, I probably would have, because, it's like, well, we have young ladies that we're recruiting running 52 and 53. So,
yeah, 62 unless you're running 400 hurdles or something that you could walk on with that, but 62 in the open four, unfortunately, that's not going to work at any program, not from a recruiting standpoint, but you could, it's a lot of things that go into it too. So I don't like to just kind of recruit based off of time only, but if this young lady's been running for 4 years and been the champion and all she's done is 62, the high school coach couldn't have been that bad of a coach to where, her talent couldn't have shown through and got to 57, 56, something in, somewhere in that range. But yeah, it's just, it's hard trying to be a high school coach, and, get kids recruited these days. NCAA has just changed so much, and it's always changing. It's hard to keep up. A lot of people are going to have to recalibrate what they think is fast, or what type of kind of scholarship demands that they may be having from a high school standpoint or high school coaching, parent, whatever standpoint, because it's a bit crazy out here when you're trying to recruit, especially on the Division I level. My standards are changing. It seems like every 6 months or something, my standards are changing for kind of what we're looking for. And it's tough conversation where you have to tell somebody like, yes, I understand, but we are competing, that's track and field. We're competing against the best in the country. It's not where we're Howard and we play football and we're competing against Dale State and Norfolk and, those programs there. We're all fighting for the same 48 spots in the country to make it to the NCAA level. I was talking to one of the ladies on my team, and she was disappointed because got knocked out in the quarterfinal round at the national championship. And I'm like, look, they took 48 people to this meet. There was about 900 people in Division I that did your event. It's 900 kids to get to this 48 spots. And then you got to go from 48 to 24, from 24 to top 12. So it just in the simple fact of getting in the top 48, you're already amongst the best 5% of people that do what you do. Just by making it, to get in that top 24, you put that to, 2.5% pretty much. You're inside the top 3% in the country at what you do. The margins are so thin, and it is incredibly difficult. But so it's hard for maybe an unconditioned high school coach or athlete or whatever really to understand what the margins are when we're talking about at this level, especially when you're talking about a certain level of investment in a student athlete. Howard, I mean, a full scholarship is going to cost me about $57,000. So with that, that means a lot's got to come with that immediately. Immediately out of the gates, you've got to be making it to NCAAs immediately. And so, I can't invest that sort of type of dollars in a 62-second 400 runner or even a 56, 55-second 400 runner. So, but the coaches are far more educated, I feel like, on the high school level these days than 10, 20 years ago. So they're doing a fantastic job. And I always take my hat off to them because they're dealing with a lot of stuff that I just wouldn't be able to make it as a high school coach. Just, because that's the thing with track in a nutshell, kind of being a no-cut sport. So you got 100 kids out here, you only got 2 coaches, for all these kids, you like I said, you can't cut them. So then they come to college and think that, and this is pretty much the first time that they've been told, like, oh, nah, you're not good enough or you're getting cut or whatever. So it's tough. If you play basketball, you've been getting cut since you were in middle school, because they only taking 15 people. 100 people show up, only 15 of y'all going to be on this team.
Right.
So they understand the culture is of like, you have to perform or you won't make it. And that's what we need kind of probably more of in the sport of track and field too.
Mm-hmm. And that and I've been there on both ends. When I was in high school, we had cuts in track and field. And then as a coach, when I came back and coached later, there were no cuts. But we were able to develop athletes from middle school all the way up to, graduation. And so some of those kids that I had as middle schoolers, little, scrawny things, and with big feet, kind of plopping down the track and everything, as a 7th grader. A lot of them, by the time they became 12th graders, they were top runners in the state.
Yep, but they demonstrate that level of seriousness. Yeah. You have people out here just, I'm doing track and field just so I can get this gym credit.
Right.
I'm just out here because I got to do some sort of extracurricular. So let me just go and do this track. I'm gonna walk around. I'm gonna come out here in jeans and not have any training shoes and miss most of the day. Just that kind of stuff. My mom was a high school coach recently, and just listening to the stories, what she talked about, and because you do have your serious kids, but then you're almost doing them a disservice because you got to waste a lot of time herding cats with everybody else.
Right.
So it is difficult. That's why they do a fantastic job on that level, producing the results that they do. So yeah, I just don't know if I'm cut out for that, because I like a level of seriousness when everybody shows up, because at the end of the day, you're going to stand on that line by yourself. There's nobody else that can help you. There's no timeouts to call. Ain't no substitutions, none of that. So you got to have the mental fortitude to be able to stand out there and get the job done under extreme pressure, which to me, that starts in practice. You got to put them under an appropriate amount of stress and pressure in practice so that you become conditioned mentally, physically. And that's why we're a private school at Howard. I like to keep the roster small, because I just can't give the requisite attention to too many kids, and because I know that it's very in depth and very involved, and I don't believe in a funnel system of just putting 50 marbles in a funnel and just seeing which 2 come out at the bottom. I don't want to be that kind of coach. Right. And so I know that's a lot of tough conversations with kids, parents, coaches. Like, yes, I mean, they're this level. I don't want to recruit them, basically, or I don't want to retain them or whatever. It's tough, but that's just, you got to have standards when you are trying to develop and be a highly thought of program. That doesn't happen by accident.
Right. And that kind of verifies something that happened to me as a coach at a small. I said I coached at one of the major programs, but also coached on the D3 level. And I remember there was an argument I had with another coach at D3, program because in fact, they were, we were, I think we were in our first year of D3, and we were coming over from NAIA, I believe. Um, and I know we were in the NCCAA as well because he had won national championship in cross country in the NCCAA, and so we had a list of students who were interested in becoming track and field athletes. And so I went and, looked at their stats. And one kid wanted to be a high jumper, and he was a local kid. And so I sent everyone the results that I had received. And I told one coach, I was like, yeah, this kid wants to be a high jumper, but I wouldn't waste my time. And the other coach was like, no, you can go ahead and take them and everything. Now, our goal was to be a national contender in 3 years. And I'm like, well, this kid, his PR is 5'8" in the high jump. It's like, that's not going to help us get to nationals. And this is not like, a distance runner that you can develop, over time. This is high jump. And he has good high school coaches because I know his coaches. And so he's not going to go too much further in the high jump. If he gets to 6 feet, that still isn't going to help us. So I feel you on the recruiting end and having to evaluate student athletes, evaluate their potentials for your program, and having to make those tough calls and things like that.
But most of the time, it's just that they just want to be a part of something, which, I get it. That's why I just offer opportunities to possibly be a team manager, maybe, or just something along those lines, because you get it. They've done track for however many years and not really sure how life goes without the sport. But yeah, it is all about development. We our 4x4 that ran 328 or whatever it was, and we got 6 at the NCAAs a couple years ago. That team had 3 student athletes on there that were walk-ons that we developed up from day one when they got there, because our first year was like, again, their first year. So and so it does take development. That's why I'm not quick to say you can't do, or I want to be able to watch and see, because if you watch those kids, you're like, no, I don't see this group of people developing into being on the national level in their individual events for as well as the relay making it. So I always want to just be I'd like to give a chance, but sometimes our program now in 2024, 25 is not the same as it was in 2018, 2019. So I just don't have the space. So I miss out on a ton of the Jessica Goodbyes of the world, probably, that could come in. And if I gave them 2 years to kind of develop, that they would be able to get somewhere, because I just can't fit a 26-second 200 on the roster when I'm looking around. All the slowest woman I have is running 24.2. I can't, and it's tough enough for her to get into the meets. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I'm going to do with a 26-second one nowadays. So once again, to the point of timing, it's everything, and it just is not a great time for us to try to develop that kind of talent when you look at the roster that we have, especially when you talk about the sprints and the hurdles and those sort of the speed power events.
Right. And that was some of the arguments I would have with high school coaches, was that, especially the ones who would complain about the 2 biggest programs here in this state not recruiting, local talent. And it's like, you do realize they run in the ACC and the SEC.
Right.
And primarily, most of these coaches want athletes who can produce immediately coming into the program. But like you said, you just don't you can't waste time and you can't waste scholarships.
Yeah, the money's tight. I mean, it really is, especially when you're talking about men.
Mm-hmm.
The money is extremely tight, and then now
Mm-hmm.
you factor in, transfer portal stuff where you got some of the best kids
Mm-hmm.
uh, seeking movement.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, man, I want to be able to save, because I mean, we always, even at Howard, we're always able to get 2 or 3 kids, in June, July time frame that move the program forward. It's via the transfer portal. So I can only imagine for your major, because what state are you in?
I'm in Kentucky.
Okay, yeah, I mean, come on, like imagine the sort of talents that Coach Green knows that group is over there at Kentucky able to access at this time of year. And you always want to make sure you got some funds set aside, because all the coaching changes that happen, kids kind of like, okay, my coach left, I'm gonna hop in the portal. Oh, they don't have my major, or I'm not getting enough credits to go to this new place that he or she went to. And it's very interesting place, and I look in the transfer portal now for track and field on the men's side. Shoot, it's about 30,000 people in here. So it's kind of crazy.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, that's across like Division 1, 2, 3 for track and field. But I mean, that's far more kids than it is scholarships and things like that. So it's tons of great athletes, and it's some that you're like, you probably should have stayed where you were at, because it's gonna be it's tough. It's tough sledding in there. It's not for the faint of heart. I'll tell you that, hopping in the transfer portal, man. Especially if you don't already have something lined up to where you're gonna go.
Right.
Once you hop in.
Right. I guess some of them have to come to that realization that, okay, well, I can't make it to NCAA program. Hey, I need to be looking at NAIA, and I need to be looking at, the National Collegiate Christian Athletic Association or something.
Yeah. They're like track and field. It does not matter, man. It does not matter. You just go out here and find the place that with a coach that you feel can help you get where you need to go, depending on what your goals are, what your aspirations are. At the end of the day, I tell people all the time, I don't really believe that 90% of these high school kids have any business heading into the Kentuckys of the world, or the SEC school. That 90% of them, they maybe after a couple of years somewhere else that they get their footing, and then can get to that level, because clearly they have the ability and the talent. But they need to it's just not for the faint of heart, man. Like think about what it takes just to score at the conference meet. And how many of those, I don't know the data, but I'd like to see like how many freshmen scored at the outdoor meet at the SEC. At all 20 plus events, men and women, how many were freshmen got it done? It's probably only probably 10, maybe. I would venture out to say.
And I mean, primarily you'd have to probably be a phenom, like a Sidney McLaughlin, and some of the others that were able to immediately come in and make an impact. But that's not everybody.
At all.
That's not everybody. So, that is very. I don't really have access to the transfer portal, of course, but those numbers that's mind
Yeah.
blowing.
I just logged in here, and for men's outdoor track that's still in here that are active right now for Division 1, it's 1,974 guys that are still in there, trying to find a home, and it's tough, man. It's tough. I don't think I'm not giving up a full scholarship wherever I'm at to play that game, unless I'm like a national champion or something. And well, I mean, heck, if you're a national champion, that means you was good enough wherever you were already at. So what do you why change it? Or a situation like the Ivies, they don't allow you to stay past 4 years. So unfortunately, they have to lose a lot of their top talent just because of if they had like a red shirt year. So those sort of situations, yeah, or the coach leaves or something, yeah, okay, fine. But if I'm already doing well where I'm at, I'm gonna keep riding that train, and I'm not changing it up.
Right. Well, this has been a different type of conversation than what we've had in the past. Because now, we are talking more about realities of track and field today. And let's say you've done a great job there at Howard.
Yeah.
And I would be remiss if we didn't talk about how your student athletes there at Howard handle the mental health aspect of being a student athlete.
Oh yeah, well that's thankfully our services here at Howard. We have access that we have a whole entire student health center set up just for that. Dr. Daniels works with our athletic programs directly. She does a fantastic job. And yeah, because that's a real thing. To me, that's the same as having a knee injury or hamstring injury or something like that, because the mental piece is extremely tough. And I've realized that when I came back from being an athlete on a high level, coming here to being a coach at this university, I went from where everything was just about me and what I wanted to do pretty much by and large as a elite athlete, to now I show up here, I'm coach, I'm in charge of 60 athletes. So I didn't realize, like, if one of those kids has a problem, that means that I have 60 problems that I need to find a solution to. And that can be extremely stressful, draining from the coaching standpoint, which has nothing to do with the X's and O's of the sport. So I had to myself get a mental coach just to process and work through those things when I first got here, that I was utilizing pretty much, so I say weekly for about the first nearly year I was here. So she was doing a fantastic job and just kind of helping me develop that piece, because that was a piece that I didn't develop. So now you're putting these 18-year-old kids in, maybe thousands of miles from home, whatever the situation could be, in an environment where it's stressful academics. The high school is very easy compared to what you're going to do in college, as opposed just like on the track where wherever you're from, your school, you were the man, the woman, whatever. You show up to college and everybody was the man, the woman, wherever they came from. Once again, to that point about getting in the top 2% just to make it to the quarterfinal round at nationals, like that's out of all the people out of Division 1 in your event. So the pressure that comes with that, then, these kids are always in constant comparison with other people and what they're doing or what they have, that, a lot of them don't have the mental maturity. They just have the focus of a laser as opposed to that of a light bulb. We need to just stay like straight line, like just stay focused on the tasks at hand, but they can't kind of do that. So they need the assistance. If you can dominate between your left ear and your right ear, you can dominate anything. That's how I feel. And I joke with them all the time. I was like, man, if y'all just let me rub off on you guys for, the time that you're here, you'll feel like you can't be beaten at anything, because it starts in the mind. And that's why I feel like I like to just kind of the mental piece work on that a little bit more than the physical, because everybody in the country goes to practice. Everybody in the country goes to the weight room. Everybody in the country has access to a dietitian or something to listen to if they choose.
Mm-hmm.
Really that left ear to right ear, that them 6 inches, that if you can dominate that you dominate everything. And I wish that we could force the kids to go to our sports psychiatrist, but unfortunately we can't, because I would love for all of them. Hey, every whatever you're scheduled for every Tuesday at 4:00, for half hour, go over there and just work on that piece.
Right. Yeah, that's like you said, become a reality these days. And I'm also glad that you mentioned the mental health aspect as far as being a coach,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't talk about that enough. We do focus on the athlete, rightfully so,
Mm-hmm.
because these are young people, and like you said, they don't necessarily know how to process their emotions and things that are being thrown at them that they're not used to.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, unfortunately, let me see, I call it, they take a permanent action to solve a temporary solution. I'm sorry, a temporary event.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
you're not coming back from that.
No.
If you do that, and meanwhile, you're also affecting. You're not only affecting yourself, you're affecting other people, your teammates, your family, other people at the institution. Some of them who you don't even think knew who you were.
Exactly. That's why, yeah, it's just development. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I think college is extremely important, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
about the degree piece. That's important, of course, but it's the learning how to deal with other people, learning how to
Mm-hmm.
interact, how to address conflict, how to just
Mm-hmm.
all the other things that you're not going to learn until you're in
Mm-hmm.
an environment where you have to be presented with these situations and you have to work your way out of them. That was the biggest thing for me in school. That's why I knew, when I'm from Denver, Colorado originally, I was going far away to try to figure out, it's time to become a man, basically. Figure out your
Mm-hmm.
own stuff, your own, I won't say issues, but whatever it may be, that mom ain't going to come save you. You got to save yourself and address those things. And that's the most important piece of college to me, is just the maturation of just the human.
Mm-hmm.
We are called human beings, not human doings. So, you're going to be who you are. And it's important to have that self-actualization to be able to get to figuring out who you are to be as me as David Oliver. Who is that? I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that high school and living with your parents and they doing everything for you. I don't think you develop that sense. Most people, because a lot of people they probably do. Some people do, but I know I needed that as a 18-year-old young man to become a young adult. So,
Mm-hmm.
and college comes with it. I saw a discourse about online about they need to get rid of electives. Why do I need to take a history class when I'm getting a marketing degree? And I just man, I just don't think people really understand
Mm-hmm.
what academic. I think we're just losing what college and what academics and being a student athlete and all this stuff it was kind of meant to be, kind of in the first place. But that's a topic for a whole different discussion. But yeah, but I'm gonna go just pause real quick. I'll be back in 2.
All right. And while Coach is gone, we will be wrapping up, going into our next episode, that you can catch right here on Chat with HBCU Champions. This has been a very enlightening conversation that we've had with Coach Oliver today. And I think you'll be um, uplifted and you'll be informed by our next guest, who is also a track coach. So please stay tuned for our next episode of Chat with HBCU Champions, Season 3, Episode 10. Also, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Linktree at Rice Fame, RICEFAME. You can also find us online. Our website is www.ricefame.org. And Coach Oliver is back as we
Yep,
prepare.
that's David. Yeah, it never stops. We're here in July, and on campus and things. It's still a lot of stuff that has to get a lot. I won't say fires put out, but it's a lot of just things that you have to do, and everybody looks at a coach like, oh, you just go to practice or something like that. That probably is the smallest percentage of what it is that you have to do. It's nonstop, man. It's nonstop, and to the point where we were talking about the mental health piece of it all, and I'm thankful I'm on a little break. It's the first time I think I've been on a break in the summer since I think 21. Because in 22, Jessica Bai was in the Olympics. She was at World Championships for us. Her senior year, she made the World Championship team, and so we're back and forth to Oregon with nationals, USA champs with the other athletes, and then the World Championships. And then by the time that's all over, the students are moving back in to start the next fall. Then last year was coaching with Team USA, doing that, and of course, having athletes at the U.S. champs again and things like that. So get done with that. 5 days later, the kids are returning back to campus for move-in and doing all the things that have to come with that. So it's the beginning of July, and I have a few weeks off, and I'm just thankful I'm not doing any traveling right now. But you need a break, man. You need a break. I think that's why you saw a lot of coaches kind of retiring during the pandemic, like kind of after the pandemic and things like that, because they sat there and was like, man, I've been working myself to death nearly at these, and track's one of those sports where we don't have 10 coaches or whatever to handle all these things. It's myself and 2 other full-time staff here for in track and field. So everything that goes with the program, whether it's the travel, the recruiting, make sure everybody's, whatever, Scott, all that stuff is going to come down, as somebody that's, coached on this level before. So, but it's a great job though, because, it's just, I get to be outside every day. I don't have to sit in somebody's office listening to people telling me what I need to do and I can't do, or turn this in, or, doing a bunch of micromanaging. So I'm thankful. I wouldn't trade this for nothing.
Right. Okay. Well, coaches, we prepare to wrap up. The first thing I'm going to ask you is about who your biggest influences were.
Biggest influence, well, life-wise, is going to be my mom, of course. Watching her put in the work, me and my 2 younger siblings. She was working 2 and 3 jobs to make things work and happen for us. And she was the first teacher in life for me, because I figured out it's more important to know what you don't want to do in life as opposed to thinking what you do want. And I just knew, I was like, I don't want to do that. And that's what she always said. You better make sure you're making the decision and putting yourself in a position to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. And so it's like, she's always going to be number one ultimate influence. And then, we're talking about professionally, with the career running wise, things like that's definitely going to be my coach, Brooks Johnson, who, he passed away recently. But I mean, everything from just what I believe when it comes to training, or just the development of myself going from a college athlete to being able to reach the next level, all of that to him, taking a chance on a guy out of Howard University, and I showed up to the camp and I was the slowest guy, the most unaccomplished guy in the camp, and was able to develop and become one of the probably best athletes he ever coached. And so, so I mean, those are probably the two individuals I would say were had the most high impact on my life.
Okay, all right. Well, and this is the last question that we'll have, or the last thing. This is your time to give shout outs to anyone you want to shout out.
Oh, well, shoot, man. Shout outs. This, first is going to be, of course, my family, friends, everybody like that. Being a high level athlete, you miss everything, parties, graduations, weddings, whatever it could possibly be. You're going to miss a lot of them. And they always were understanding. Because, I mean, then they're always going to be supporting me no matter if I won or lost. I remember the last race I ran, USA Championships. I got like 4th or 5th, something like that. And I got done. They were all at the meet. And I was like, yeah, this is my last race. And they were like, oh, you're sure? They just support. It's like, oh, cool. Well, hey, we do something else then. So it's always going to be family and the friends that's going to be the biggest shout outs. I mean,
this is a reminder.
Of course, with the training partners that help you get where that I've been able to get to in my career, because nobody ever gets where they're going on their own. That's definitely a misnomer. Yes, track and field is an individual sport, but you aren't going to get anywhere by yourself. It's going to be coaches, training partners, medical staff, everybody that's going to be helping you to kind of get to where you're going. And now as the coach, shout out Dr. Frederick, Carey, like Paul Bowden, the compliance who really dealing with me and all of the crazy stuff that I'm doing, trying to bring kids at the last minute. He got to try to do all of these, get all this stuff knocked out for us. So, it's just a full team. Then everybody sees me, I'm doing the interviews, all this stuff, but it's 20 people that make it all work in order to get to this point. And, of course, the last but the biggest shout out's got to go to the student athletes in the track and field program, men and women, that, because without them, we don't, have a job. And if they're not performing well, nobody's interviewing or asking me for any sort of comments or anything on that side of things. So they're showing that Howard is the place that you can come, develop, be great on and off the playing field. And then that's going to set you up not just for the 4 years while you're here, but for the 40 years afterwards. And, that's the biggest thing. That's why I wanted to do this in the first place, is to be a difference maker for the next generation of great people that this university is producing. And so far, I think we've had 2 classes graduate so they're definitely holding up what I always thought we should be as a university and definitely as a program.
Okay. All right. Well, you're succeeding in that area. So we definitely want to thank you, Coach Oliver, for participating in this chat. And we hope that you and your program continue to succeed, and we will definitely follow your progress. And we also want to thank you, the viewers, for watching this episode of Chat with HBCU Champions. Please visit let me restate this. Please visit www.ricefame.org for more information on replays and more HBCU information. And please have a blessed week.
Yeah. Now I'm talking about young shakes. Chicago 2 representatives. Just James. And this is for my city.
Hey, I do it for my city. I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gone first round. For my city. I ain't never been a chump. And if he thinking I'm a chump, watch him get his head lumped. For my city. I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gone first round. For my city. I ain't never been a chump, and if he thinking I'm a chump, watch him get his head lumped. For my city. Cause I feel like I love her so much, like I owe her so much, but supplying her touch, I will always respect her, I will never neglect her. Bet you hear her naming like every one of my records. No, I'm not studying. stunting, ain't no future in your frontin', right? Gotta get this money, watch me get it all night. Planet flying top flight, higher than space stations. That's why I gotta grind, cause I need it and I hate waiting.